All right, everybody, what's going on? How y'all doing? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide around the SWAC, C. Wells, and it is finally here, man. I'm finally dropping my SWAC basketball preview in air quotes because the season's already started. So I guess it's a preview, but it's not a before the season preview. It's a during the season preview. It's a what's happened up until this point show. So we're gonna kind of take a look at, like I said, what happened in SWAC basketball from the beginning of the season to now. We're gonna look at some of the information given out before the season, all SWAC teams and things like that. Go over the TV coverage for conference play, which starts at the beginning of January, and then we're gonna, when the season comes out, when the SWAC season comes up, we'll dive deeper into basketball, but football will still be here. Going to be dropping my season recaps and coaching news and portal news and all that kind of stuff. Going to still be coming at you, but basketball is right now. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. While you're here, like the video, comment, and share. Also hit those socials: Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. So let's go ahead and jump into this, man. Like I said, we are already almost at the end of the second month of the season. So we're gonna first off, we're gonna start off at the beginning, and that's taking a look at the men's order of finish, preseason order of finish, and the all SWAC teams. First and foremost, the order of finish, defending SWAC champs, Grambling State, are picked to win the SWAC again. They got 212 points, 10 first place votes. Texas Southern is second with 200 points, 3 first place votes. Southern third, 160 points, 1 first place vote. Jackson State fourth, 153 points, 1 first place vote. Alcorn fifth, 144, 1 first place vote. Alabama State, 122 points. They 6th place with 1 first place vote. Prairie View, 7th with 121 points and 1 first place vote. Bethune-Cookman, 8th with 109 points and 2 first place votes. Alabama A&M, 9th, 106 points. Pine Bluff, 10th, 70 points. Florida A&M, 11th with 63 points, and Valley last with 32 points. It's really early, so it's not, not really much can be made of it. But I will say, I don't think Bethune-Cookman is going to finish 8th. I don't think Alabama A&M is going to finish 9th. And I think Florida A&M is going to surprise some people. Now, who moves down so those guys can move up, that remains to be seen because, Grambling is still going to be Grambling. Texas Southern is still going to be Texas Southern. Jackson State is going to be where they are. Southern's going to be in the mix. There's a lot of teams, in this jumbo match. Bama State can probably move up. There's a lot of teams in that match right there that could finish anywhere. I just don't think Alabama A&M or Bethune-Cookman are going to be those teams fighting for the last spot. And I do think FAMU is going to challenge for a tournament spot, so we'll see what goes on. Speaking of the tournament, the men's and women's tournament will be held in Atlanta this season at the Gateway Center Arena on March 11th, from March 11th to March 15th. So don't forget to keep tabs on that. And of course, we're gonna keep talking about that as we get closer to the finish line. Like I said, we're just about done with basically non-conference basketball. So we'll be rolling into SWAC play in a week or so, or a couple weeks. So we'll be starting to march to Atlanta then. Looking at the preseason player of the year, that would be Contavious Dozier. He was named preseason player of the year. He had a tremendous 23-24 season, helping guide Grambling to his first ever SWAC tournament title and a trip to the NCAA tournament. He led Grambling with 13 points. He had 20 points or more 7 times during the season, with a season high of 34 points versus Washington State. The defensive player of the year preseason is Kenny Hunter from Texas Southern. He was a key contributor to the Tigers this past season, averaging 5.6 points per game to go along with 4.5 rebounds per game. He also was a significant contributor for TSU on the defensive end of the floor, averaging 1.2 blocks per game. The preseason all-conference teams are as follows. First team, Contavious Dozier from Grambling, TJ Madlock from Alabama State, Tijani Dumasi from Southern, Shannon Grant from Jackson State, Chad Moody, Alabama A&M. Second team, Grayson Carter, Texas Southern, C.J. Hines, Alabama State, Kenny Hunter, Texas Southern, Ubong Okong, Alabama State, and Lorenzo Downey, Alabama A&M. Like I said, with a preseason list, you're gonna kind of, get a mismatch of guys. I think, a guy like C.J. Hines probably could have been a first team guy. Obviously, if you're defensive player of the year, you probably, would kind of see that guy as a first team guy. But Shannon Grant's an interesting name to keep tabs on. I mean, he came from FAMU. He's at Jackson State now. He's a big body guy. So, they like their big bodies at JSU, so he could definitely maybe fit better in their offensive system. We'll see. Chad Moody's a guy who had a great tournament. He was able to make some big plays. Ocon's a big body in the middle, of course. Downey is another guy who had some big games in their tournament run. And we'll see how do you shape up at the end of the season. But that's pretty much where we stand at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look at the early standings. Like I said, these are non-conference only. Southern's in front right now with a 5-6 record. They lost 2 games in a row. Alabama A&M is 4-8. They've lost 5 in a row. Alabama State is 4-8 as well. They've lost 2 in a row. FAMU is 3-7. They've lost 2 in a row. Bethune-Cookman is 3-9. They've lost 1. Pine Bluff is 3-10. They've won 1. Grambling is 2-10. They've lost 5 in a row. Texas Southern is 2-10. They've lost 5 in a row. Mississippi Valley is 2-10. They've lost 3 in a row. Prairie View is 1-11. They've lost 11 in a row. And Jackson State and Alcorn are both winless. JSU is 0-12, and Alcorn is 0-13. Now, if you're not really a SWAC basketball follower, and you stumbled upon this, those records don't look good, but most of these teams have played a heavy power conference schedule or high mid-major type teams. So you're going to see more losses than wins. Now, some teams have had the advantage of playing some of those lower division teams to pick up a couple wins. And there have been a few victories over D1 opponents. And I'm gonna what I like to keep tabs on is victories over D1 opponents, because when that's kind of your measuring stick, especially like the teams that are like low major, mid major, whatever. You wanna see how you stack up with those guys, and then occasionally you'll get a power conference victory here and now. But just looking at last season, the SWAC had 19 D1 victories. That's through the complete non-conference slate. Alabama A&M had 1, Bama State had 2, Alcorn none, Bethune-Cookman 3, FAMU 1, Grambling none, Jackson State 4, Valley none, Prairie View 3, Southern 3, Texas Southern 1, Pine Bluff 1. And then when you look at this season, the number is down. They're down to 11 non-conference D1 victories. I will say that there are 8 games left in the non-conference against D1 opponents, so there may be an opportunity to pick up a victory before the end of the non-conference slate. But right now, Alabama A&M has 1, Bama State has 3, Alcorn none, Bethune 3, FAMU 1, Grambling none, Jackson none, Valley none, Prairie View none, Southern 2, Texas Southern 0, and Pine Bluff 1. Now, those are good feathers in your cap, and I think when you come into conference play with a solid conference record, I like 20 wins is a good mark that I like to look at. Maybe it doesn't matter to you, but 20 wins is a nice number for me, 20 or more. When you go into the conference schedule with not needing as many victories to get to 20 wins, it makes it a lot easier, and you pick up those by winning in non-conference. And of course, you got to pay bills, so you do play those kind of games. But I like a mix of power teams and mid-major teams, especially regional teams. Your Southeasterns, your McNeeses, Nichols, those kind of guys. Just like football, you want to play those kind of guys. In basketball, you definitely want to play those kind of guys. That's where you pick up your wins, and kind of make some things look a little bit better for you. But that non-conference record doesn't mean a hill of beans when you get in the conference play. Grambling didn't win a D1 game in the non-conference last season. They won a tournament. Texas Southern was another team. They won one and they were in the mix. You know, Alcorn, no none, and they still were in the mix. So it doesn't really equal much in conference play, but it's just something to kind of look at to kind of get an idea of what's what. Um, Next, we're gonna look at the television schedule. Starting with the ESPN games, there's 4 ESPN games this season. Starting January 6th at 8 p.m. Grambling at Texas Southern. That's on ESPNU. February 3rd at 8 p.m. Alcorn at Grambling. That's also on ESPNU. February 17th, Texas Southern at Southern. That's also 8 p.m. tip on ESPNU. And March 3rd, Prairie View at Jackson State on ESPNU, 8 p.m. tip. Next, these are your SWAC digital network games. These are men's and women's doubleheader. So all these games are Saturdays now. Texas Southern at Pine Bluff on January 11th. Also January 11th, Bama State at Jackson State. January 18th, Alcorn at Texas Southern. Also January 18th, Alabama State at Alabama A&M. January 25th, Florida A&M at Alcorn. January 25th, Bethune-Cookman at Jackson State. February 1st, Alabama A&M at FAMU. February 1st, Jackson State at Grambling State. February 8th, Bethune-Cookman at Prairie View. February 8th as well, Valley at Jackson State. February 15th, Texas Southern at Grambling. February 15th, Alabama State at Pine Bluff. February 22nd, you got Southern at Grambling and Alcorn at Jackson State. March 1st, Texas Southern at Jackson State and Prairie View at Alcorn State. March 6th, Alabama A&M at Grambling and Jackson State at Pine Bluff. And March 8th, you have Texas Southern at Prairie View and FAMU at Bethune-Cookman. Your HBCU Go games, also men and women double hitters. These games are 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. Central Time. January 4th, Jackson State at Alcorn. February 1st, Prairie View at Texas Southern. March 1st, Alabama A&M at Alabama State. And March 8th, Jackson State at Valley. So that is our TV schedule, and that's pretty much where we stack up with the television programming. So definitely check out ESPNU, SWAC Digital Network, and HBCU Go. Next, we're going to move on to some statistical leaders, just kind of give you an idea of where things shape up in individual and team numbers at this portion of the season. Now, when we get into conference play and we start to look at games, later, like after the first couple of weeks of the season, I'm going to be using the conference only numbers for those kind of SWAC matchups, because it kind of evens things out a little. When you start to play more, more common like opponents, there's such a varying number of teams that these teams play on different levels. So some teams might put up a lot of points because they're playing lower division teams, and some might not put as much because they're playing high division teams. So what I like to do is use the non-conference slate just for now, and then as we get into conference play, we use those numbers to compare and contrast. Right now, Southern is the leading offense at 81 points per game. They also lead the league in scoring defense at 71.9 points per game. And they lead the league in scoring margin at 9.7 point differential between them and their opponents. They are the only team right now with a positive scoring margin. A lot of it is because these teams play a lot of power teams, and they're getting blowed out a lot. Most teams right now in the conference are scoring 60 points or more. But a lot of these teams are giving up over 80 points per game right now. Those numbers are going to kind of move around as we get into conference play. Pine Bluff is the leading field goal percentage team. They shoot 47% from the field. Southern's at 45, Grambling's at 44. Bethune-Cookman leads in scoring in field goal defense at 43%. Southern also is at 43%, Grambling's at 44%, Texas Southern at 45%. 3-point field goals. Grambling leads the conference right now, shooting 34%. Also, Alabama A&M is at 34%, and FAMU at 33%. Alcorn at 33%. Grambling leads in 3-point defense, which is not really a surprise. They're at 34%. Bethune-Cookman 35, Alabama State 35, Pine Bluff 35. Bama State right now is making an average of 9.9 threes per game. Also, so both of those teams are letting it fly in the preseason. And FAMU definitely, I think, they seem like their offensive numbers are on the rise this season. So, with a new coach, you kind of seeing that influx of energy on the offensive side of the ball. They're averaging 72.5 points per game. And, I think they can be a team, like I said, that's going to help them stay in games. Last season, the offense was all over the place. There was some games where they get up and down the floor, and then there was some games where they just could not do anything offensively, where they seemed like they didn't have any kind of flow to their system. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Rattlers can maintain that type of energy and production once they get into conference play. Prairie leads the conference in free throw percentage at 72.9%. Texas Southern at 72.5%. Everybody else is under 70%. Alcorn's opponents, they shoot 78% from the line, which is the highest mark. Southern's opponents shoot 66, which is the lowest. Also, Pine Bluff at 67, Jackson State at 68%. Rebounds, right now, Southern leads the conference with a 38.5 rebound average. And that's surprising. Southern's typically been a team that's not really strong on the boards. So they've been, pretty solid on the boards this season. We'll see if that carries over to conference play, because rebounding obviously is a huge key in conference games, especially as you get later into the season and the games start to slow down a little bit, possessions start to, shrink, and you need those rebounds, to get those stops. So it's going to be interesting to see if Southern State, that Bama A&M is a big team at 37.8. Alabama State has some size and a guy like TJ Madlock at guard who rebounds extremely well. They're at 35.9, and FAMU is at 35.2. Jackson State at 35.2. So most teams are kind of in that range. Southern's opponents average 33.2 rebounds per game, which is the fewest. Grambling 36.1. Valley is opponent 36.5 rebounds per game. Alabama A&M leads the league with 14.8 offensive boards, and that's extremely important for maintaining possessions. And FAMU leads the league in total defensive rebounds at 25.4 rebounds per game. And Southern leads the conference in rebounding margin with 5.3. That's the only positive margin in the conference. Southern also leads in turnover margin at 4.1. They have 130 turnovers. They force 176. They average 11.8 turnovers per game. They force 16. Right now, Bama State only turns the ball over 9.5 times. And last season, they were a team who did not turn the ball over a lot, and they continue to do that. And they're forcing a pretty solid amount of turnovers right now. And they also lead in assist to turnover ratio at 1.3. They have average of 12.4 assists per game and 9.5 turnovers. Right now, Alabama A&M leads the conference in assists per game at 15.2. Pine Bluff is at 14.8, Southern at 14.5. Grambling leads the league in block shots with 4.3 per game. That's not really a surprise. Grambling's a team that has size and play good defense, good physical defense, so they're definitely going to always get their hands on shots. Right now, Southern leads the league in steals with 10.6 per game. Just quickly looking at some individual guys, Nick Anderson from Prairie View leads the conference in scoring right now. He's at 18.9 points per game. Brayon Freeman from Bethune-Cookman is at 16 points per game. CJ Hines from Bama State, 15.8 points per game. Amar Knox from Bama State, 15.6 points per game. Kayvon McClain from Texas Southern is at 14.8. Alabama State has a nice scoring trio right now with Knox, Hines, and Madlock. All those guys are in double figures. And Bama State's a team that's extremely athletic. They're not necessarily a team that's gonna consistently while you were shooting, although they seem to be better this season. But they are a team who can get up and down the floor when they need to. They got guys that can create, and they got guys that can make those shots. And this season seems like they're doing that at a better clip. And so that makes them a team to be tough to look out for, because, Hines can go for 30 at any night. Madlock's a guy who can go off. And now Knox is scoring 15 points per game. I think that's a nice, three-headed monster on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at Chad Moody leads the league shooting 54% from the field. Christian Moore leads the league in assists. He's from Pine Bluff. He's at 5.1 assists per game. Dumasi from Southern is at 5 assists per game. He's a guy who consistently has a high number of assists most games. Dumasi leads the conference in assist to turnover ratio at 2.2. Jesus Carrello Martin from Bethune-Cookman leads the league in blocks with 1.9 per game. PJ Eason from Grambling 1.3, and Ernest Ross from Grambling at 1.3. That's why Grambling is tops in the league in blocks. Steals, Knox from Bama State leads the league with 1.8. Dumasi from Southern 1.6, and Freeman from Bethune-Cookman 1.6. Ford from Alabama A&M is also at 1.6. And so that's pretty much, where we stand right now, in this early portion of things. We'll start to work more into it as the season progresses. One thing, like I said, I'm going to probably do is each day in conference play, going to highlight the game that I think is the game of that day. And when I do my weekly preview, that'll be the game I cover more in depth. And the other games will be, games that I kind of touch on here and there. Just to give you a quick heads up, the first weekend of SWAC play, that's Saturday, January 4th, you got Jackson State at Alcorn, Valley at Alabama State. These are Saturday games. Pine Bluff at Alabama A&M, Grambling at Prairie View, Bethune-Cookman at Florida A&M, and Southern at Texas Southern. And then Monday, switch partners. Bama State is at Bama State hosts Pine Bluff. That's January 6th. Valley is at Alabama A&M, Grambling at Texas Southern, Southern at Prairie View, and Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman, Alcorn, and FAMU are all off because they played each other. When you play a travel partner, you don't play the following day, following game. You take that game off. So we have 4 games on Monday, 6 on Saturday, and that's pretty much how it's going to go throughout the season. Although there will be some weeks where there are 6 games each day. But that's our first weekend of SWAC play. Starts on January 4th and 6th. So we'll have a preview probably dropping probably on New Year's. I might just go ahead and drop it on New Year's, which is Wednesday, January 1st. So that'll probably be our first conference game preview. And so y'all keep it locked here. Of course, we got SWAC Smoke and everything else coming at you. So y'all keep it locked, and we will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.